In this video, I'm going to be ranking every boss fight in Super Mario Galaxy. This is one of my favorite games of all time. Even as an adult, I go back and play this game a lot. That being said, I don't think it's perfect. There's a lot of galaxies, characters, and bosses that I think are very flawed, and I could talk about them all, but in this video I'll be focusing on just the boss fights. After playing this game and specifically thinking about the quality of these battles, I realized that obviously there's a lot of great ones, but there's also a good few that are kinda awful, so be prepared for that. Now, a few disclaimers before we begin. When ranking these fights, I'm not going to be considering the parts of the level that lead up to them, just the fights themselves. Next, a lot of these bosses appear more than once. In most of these instances, not much changes between the times you fight them, so I'll be smushing all those fights together into one review. If there happens to be a case where a lot changes, then there will be separate reviews. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get started. I knew going into this review that there might be a few bosses that I don't like, but the fight with Bugaboom is unexpectedly awful. The very foundation of this fight is broken. The reason for that is mainly the use of the bee suit. I hate this power-up. It's easily the worst power-up in the whole game. Any level involving this suit is one that I despise. But what's the reason for your hatred of this harmless suit, you ask? Good question. The whole purpose of power-ups is to bring an exciting new element of gameplay to a level. The bee suit definitely brings a new element of gameplay, but it's just not fun. You can reach slightly higher places with it, but you just slowly float up. Who wants to do that? I'll tell you, nobody. In most levels, however, the bee suit is harmless. It's a little boring, but it's used in pretty clever ways. Not with this fight, though. In this fight, Bugaboom is flying around and you need to awkwardly slowly float up and ground pound on him. The only issue is, it's impossible to tell whether or not you're actually on top of him because the depth perception in this level is not clear at all, so half the time you just miss because you can't tell where Mario is. But it gets worse. In his second phase, Bugaboom will flip on his side so you can't even hit him half the time. This isn't challenging, it's just annoying. But don't worry, there's even more to hate with this level. Part of what makes a boss fight fun is having an attack that you need to avoid, right? Well, the only attack that Bugaboom has is shooting a few small bombs out of his butt every once in a while, and they're super easy to avoid, so there's no fear of dying, meaning there's no tension, which means this fight sucks. Kingfin is the only underwater boss in this whole game, so his fight is based on a whole different kind of gameplay. There's a lot of underwater levels that I really like in this game and Galaxy 2, but this is not one of them. It's really awkward swimming around this tiny planet because you can't really see a lot and it's hard to tell exactly where you are, so that doesn't really help this fight. Next is the boss himself. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh, I kinda remember this Galaxy. Don't you fight some super cool and abstract and really well thought out creature? No, it's a shark. Well, more specifically, it's the skeleton of a shark, but come on, that's so lazy. Comparing the design of this boss to all the others in the game, I think this one is actually the worst. Does he look a little cooler than Bugaboom? Maybe. Are there any other redeeming qualities to this boss? Heck no. Okay, next is the gameplay. I'm just gonna give you a little spoiler, it sucks. You grab shells and shoot him with them. That's all. And in terms of his attacks, they're also awful. He doesn't even attack you at all in the first half of the battle, and in the second half, he just sends a bunch of mini fish at you, and they just follow you super slowly? Are you kidding me? Was there any original idea when coming up with this fight? I'm sorry, but I just can't take this seriously at all. I really can't think of a single aspect of this fight that's not terrible. Except, okay, maybe the way the world and the shark look is kind of cool. It's all super dark and moody, but other than that, I'm having trouble thinking of positives. Yeah, this level just sucks. After playing Super Mario Galaxy multiple times, I feel like I have a pretty firm grasp on this game. All the levels, all the bosses, I could tell you about any of them. Except for this guy. Who even is this dude? I swear I always forget about him every time I play this game. Apparently his name is Tarantox, and you fight him by flinging yourself at his very colorful and conveniently placed pimples. He also shoots poison at you, which after doing thorough research I'm pretty sure is the lamest attack ever conceived. You just have to walk to the side to avoid it. So basically you fling yourself at this guy like 10 times and he dies. Boss fight over. This fight definitely isn't as egregiously awful as fighting Bugaboom or Kingfin, but it's just really underwhelming and forgettable. Topmaniac is probably the miniest of the mini bosses here. I almost considered leaving him off the list, but then I realized I have no job or loved ones to take care of, so why not? Maybe there's someone out there whose favorite boss of all time is Topmaniac. This small review of him is just for you, whoever you are. In this fight, it's Mario against a spinning circle, and it's quite underwhelming. You gotta jump on his head to knock him out, then hit him into the electric fence to kill him. He spawns a few little minions and they can be a little bit annoying, but I don't think I've ever lost a point of health on this guy. He's just too easy, and the actions of hitting him and knocking him into the fence are just not very fulfilling to do. But if there's one thing I can give this fight, it's that out of all the boss fights in the game, this one is definitely the closest to recreating a Beyblade battle. That's the biggest compliment I can give this level. Not too bad, but just really unsatisfying. Major Burrows is a decent boss fight. I'm not jumping for joy waiting to fight this guy, but I still have a good time playing against him. His whole deal is he follows you underground, then slowly pops up a little bit, and you need to ground pound to knock him back up to the surface, then you hit him. It's a very simple idea, and it works decently well. I like his design, a little gopher guy with a helmet, and I think getting him pissed off when you ground pound is a pretty interesting and sensical idea. There are some other bosses later in the list who do more interesting stuff with super simple mechanics like this, but Major Burrows definitely gets the job done. Undergrunt Gunner is a boss that I have very mixed feelings about. On one hand, this is the boss that inspired the super awesome boss fight in World 5 of Super Mario Galaxy 2. On the other hand, this guy appears twice as a boss in this game, and both times you play him, you use power-ups that make fighting him just really awkward. This one, for example, where you use the spring suit, isn't really that fun to me. It just gets really annoying because it's hard to control yourself. It's not too bad, but I don't love it. The other time you play against him, though, is a different matter. Doing this fight in the B-suit is so awful. Like I've said before, the B-suit sucks and it makes for terrible gameplay. But you mix it with the speeding bullet hell that this guy shoots at you, and it marks for some of the most annoying and actively unfun gameplay ever. But some gameplay that I do enjoy is doing this fight without the B-suit. It's a ton easier, and I couldn't find any good recordings of it, so please enjoy this extremely high quality footage from someone with 5 views that I found. If you fight him like this, you can just jump up to his cannon and ground pound him. If I were ranking this boss based on this exact fight only, he would be a lot higher. Brrrr is a boss that I really like returning to whenever I play this game. That being said, I don't think the fight is that good. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'll explain. The fight against Brrrr is pretty simple. He shoots ice bombs at you as you make your way over to the side of the map, into this little area, collect the ice flower, then use it to walk on the frozen water, then get up to his platform and hit him a few times. Gameplay-wise, this idea is decent, but moving around on this map feels really awkward, especially when sliding on the ice or trying to walk with the ice flower. It's all a little wonky, but it works. Now, the reason why I enjoy this fight so much though, is because the battle, as well as this whole galaxy, has a really strong theme to it. Everything is covered in ice, and pairing that with the use of the ice flower gives you a combination that isn't done very often in this game. Using the fire flower, nothing special. Using the bee suit, well, I hate the bee suit. Using the ice flower though, is just rare enough that it feels really interesting every time I have it. So even though there are some fundamental flaws holding this fight back, overall, it's a pretty good time. Kamella is a boss fight with a really strong foundation, even if it is a little uninspired. In this fight, Kamella shoots fireballs at you and you need to kill her with these turtle shells. If you play her in the Deep Dark Galaxy, halfway through the fight you'll move up to this tiny platform filled with fireballs and more witches. It can get pretty intense and makes for a super fun experience. Anyway, not much else to say about this fight. It's pretty simple. The only reason why I didn't rank it that high is because there's a lot of great boss battles in this game. And though this one is good, it doesn't seem as genius as a lot of the later ones. You're just fighting a witch who casts fireballs at you. Still really solid though. Dino Piranha is the very first boss fight in this game, so the creators had to make sure that the gameplay was very simple and easy to pick up. Those 2 points could have very easily caused this fight to be very boring and tedious. Thankfully, this level's actually really great. In comparison to a lot of the other bosses here, Dino Piranha has some of the most satisfying gameplay. The concept of hitting its rocky tail so it slingshots into itself is so genius. I'm confused as to how someone could even come up with something like that. Now, that being said, this boss is really easy, to the point that I don't come back to it much. I really just wish it was a little bit harder or at least a little more dynamic, but I can't really expect something like that for the very first boss. So for the role it plays in this game, it does it really well. I just wish that there was an alternate form that was maybe like later in the game or something that improves on its design in like every way. That would be cool. Something I love about Super Mario Galaxy as a whole is its ability to combine abstract and unrelated concepts together in a way that feels so cohesive and natural. You see it in certain galaxy designs and different characters, but one of the best instances of this is the boss fight against King Kaliente. If you were to describe this fight on paper, I would seriously look at you like you're crazy. You're in a lava lake, and you need to fight a king octopus that shoots mostly fireballs, but every once in a while he shoots watermelons. And what do you do with those watermelons? Well, of course you hit them in midair and they fly back at him. Okay, so they just hit him in the face? Oh no. They hit him in the face the first time, but then he learns from his mistake and starts hitting them back at you. Once you get to the last round with this guy, it's like tennis, but with a watermelon over a lava lake. My main point here is that the concept of this is so wacky that I don't even know what to think of it. And because it confuses me, and it's really fun, I'll just say it's a great boss fight and try not to think about it anymore. Another thing I should point out is that you play King Kaliente twice in this game, and I'll group both of them in here because they're pretty similar, but the second time you fight him is over even more lava, and it's a little bit harder. Both are great though. Guys, holy crap, Megaleg is such a cool boss fight. In this level, you have to break this big machine by walking up its legs, then guiding the bullet bills into the chamber that holds the Grand Star. That's all. But for how simple this level is, it makes up for it by being just so epic and suspenseful and well designed. Guiding the bullet bills is a little difficult if you suck, but they feel super satisfying to use in this level. In addition, the Megaleg fight works so well because of where it fits in the storyline. This is your first time fighting Bowser Jr. at the end of the observatory levels, so this huge robot is extremely intimidating. Remember when I talked about the second King Kaliente? His second fight was also when fighting Bowser Jr. in a different dome. The reason why I like Megaleg more is because, first, this is the only time you fight him, so it's actually really suspenseful and new, since you don't really know what you're doing. And second, Megaleg is just way more intimidating. When doing a boss fight at the end of a big section of a game, it should feel super intense and impactful and epic. Megaleg accomplishes these qualities and more, which is why I love it so much. Bouldergeist was always one of my favorite boss fights as a kid. Something about this rocky structure and weird face was super memorable to me. Even when I would go years without playing this game, I could always remember this fight for some reason. Anyway, returning back to it, this boss is just as good as I remember it being as a kid. Slinging around the black ghosts is really satisfying, and dodging all the different attacks is pretty fun too. As far as the design goes, this fight does a great job of mixing both insane levels of creativity and a very consistent design and theme. Unlike a boss like, I don't know, Tarantox. Yeah, I bet you already forgot about him. Anyway, unlike Tarantox, Bouldergeist feels very sensical and tonally consistent, while at the same time being super thrilling to fight against. Also, just like King Kaliente, I feel like the idea of Bouldergeist is super abstract and risky and creative. You're literally fighting a living rock statue who grows hands, and you have to kill him by grabbing ghosts by the mouth, swinging them in circles, and hitting him. When you say it out loud, it reminds you that this is kind of insane, and that's why I love it. You know, initially I wasn't going to have a separate review for this version of the Piranha fight, but after playing this level a few more times, I realized just how special this battle is. This fight appears towards the very end of the game, and kind of symbolizes two different things. First, how much better of a player you are, and second, how just cool and abstract this game is. Let me explain. When you fight Piranha for the first time, it's at the very beginning, when you're still new to the game, so the creators had to make sure the fight wasn't too weird or difficult, or it might turn you off. But after you play almost the whole game, you return to his full form. The fact that this new fight is so wonky almost sounds like the developers are saying, okay, now that you've played this game all the way through, we know you can handle this. And then give you an amazing new fight with a background that looks like a weird fourth dimension version of hell. Okay, now with that weird description of this level out of the way, what makes this fight so great? Well, first, the design of everything. The background, but also the Piranha himself looks extra spicy, and I think the new colors look super cool and otherworldly. Next is the gameplay. Now, I already talked about how the gameplay of the original fight is great, but this is even better. In this version, his tail is on fire about 80% of the time, and you have to wait for a tiny window of time to hit the rock and do damage. This is such a cool addition, and makes the level genuinely hard. Outside of that, everything about this fight is the same as the original, but I guess that just goes to show how good the original is too. This fight, I'd say, is near perfect, but there is one that's even better. When ranking every boss in this game, I noticed there was one boss that had a distinct advantage over all the others. Every other boss that fights Mario only takes about 5 minutes and isn't really meant to be super memorable. Mario's final battle with Bowser, however, is a full gauntlet to end the main story. The intensity here is insane. The suspenseful music, mixed with the amazing animation and design of the floating planets in space, mixed with the amazing gameplay, makes this easily the best fight in the whole game. Starting on the first planet you fight on, Bowser turns into a ball and rolls around the planet trying to hit you. His head is peeking through though, so if you time your spin attack just right, you can hit him. Once you do that, he starts spinning uncontrollably at super high speeds and you need to hit him again to actually do damage. Next is the second planet. On this one, you have to hit Bowser with these stretch planes as he's spinning around. Throughout this game, you've used these stretch planes to do very simple tasks, and they're usually really easy to use. On this planet though, they're taken to the next level. It's hard to hit Bowser, but if you do, just like the first planet, it sends him spinning around and you need to hit him a few more times. On the third planet, Bowser jumps super high and crashes down next to you. However, if you stand on the glass, he'll break it and light his tail on fire. You need to hit his tail, then hit him just a few more times. Do all that, and you win. Now, I went into detail on all the aspects of this fight because, to me, every bit of this battle is pure genius. Every planet is distinct, yet equally challenging and fun. When they all come together in this fight, they create an insane gauntlet to end the story. This level is perfect. Well, that's all the bosses. Let me know if you disagree with any of my takes, or if your favorite boss is secretly Bugaboom. Either way, there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, and it's that Super Mario Galaxy is indeed a video game. Thank you.